Hi, folks. Smokin Joe with the Crack Culture Podcast. Yesterday, me and Ford O'Connell filmed the show, and as I went into the editing studio, I was listening lightly in the background to the Butler, Pennsylvania Trump rally. I heard some commotion, but I wasn't sure what happened. But before I could, look to see, my phone started ringing, and somebody told me that the former President Trump had been shot. Uh, I found out that President Trump had been, only grazed and he was going to be okay. However, I did find out that the shooter was Thomas Crooks. He was a 20-year-old, from what we can find, a loner who was picked on and bullied a lot in high school. He was a registered Republican. He did make a $15 donation to a Democratic platform. The FBI and the Secret Service and that are saying there's no known ideology yet. Well, I'm not sure if there's any known ideology or not, but what I did know that we found a 2023 ad for BlackRock that the shooter, Thomas Crooks, was in. So, maybe somebody were to look and see what if BlackRock's got any involvement here, because this just don't add up for this boy to get where he was at and everything. However, I'm not going to go over that. Ford sent me a message at 1 o'clock this morning. And I will tell you what he said. He said this was an apparent assassination attempt on our former President Trump. Nearly every Republican now sees Trump as the toughest son of a bitch to ever run for president. Every American should pray for the innocent victims and be grateful for the efforts of the Secret Service and law enforcement. It's not a stretch to think that constantly calling Trump an existential threat to democracy contributed to this tragedy. And I agree with Ford. Please, we need to keep the family of Corey Compatore in our prayers. He was a firefighter, a husband, a father of 2 daughters, and a man of faith. We also are praying for the other 2 victims, David Dutch and James Copenhaver. They were critically wounded, but I heard that they were recovering. Our prayers are for the victims and the families of this and for our country. This is time we need to pray for our country. Well, I believe every American has the right to freedom of speech. I don't believe you have the freedom of reach. And that means that whatever you want to say, you say it, but you don't have a right to touch someone. And if you keep putting ideologies in people's head that they've got to put a bullseye on a political candidate or it's a threat to democracy at all costs, we've got to stop this man. There's going to be some 20-year-old non-developed brain going to think that he's got to save the country and try to martyr himself, and because he was no friends. I looked at the kid. He probably never had a girlfriend. I mean, it's a sad situation, but it's the world we live in. It can happen anywhere, folks. So do like I did yesterday. Stay close to your family and pray. Pray for our country. Pray for the families. And to start the show, I'm going to play what happened yesterday. Please like, share our videos, and thank you, folks, for watching. Pray for our nation during this tragic time. I'm Smokin Joe in the Crack Culture Podcast. Thank you for watching.
Oh, that's a little bit old, that chart. That chart's a couple of months old, and if you want to really see something that's said, take a look at what happened. Oh. Let me get my shoes.
I got you, sir.
Let me get my shoes, sir.
Hold that in your head. It's bloody.
So we got to move to the car. Let me get my shoes. Okay,
Watch out.
Today's show is sponsored by Farmer Joe's Fresh Market, located at 1401 Southwest Pine Island Road in beautiful Cape Coral, Florida. Farmer Joe's has sales in every department this week through July 16th. You can get russet potatoes, 5-pound bags, 2 for $5. Seedless watermelons, $1.09 each. And Eastern peaches, 99 cents a pound. Everything you need and more. Lee County's greatest grocery store, Farmer Joe's Fresh Market. We want to give a shout out to the wonderful people at International Marble, family owned and operated. When you need marble, there's only one place to call. That's International Marble, 239-878-2200. That's 239-878-2200. Joining me, attorney, businessman, political analyst, multimedia commentator, Mr. Ford O'Connell is here to help us understand what is going on nationally and discuss our local political issues that impact Florida. You can find Ford at FordO'Connell.com. You can also find Ford O'Connell on X and most reputable news sources. It's good to see you, Ford. We've had a lot of stuff going on since we last talked. And I feel that the first clip that I pulled to play is a good starting point to the show. So let's look at it. And really, nobody can make this up. I just got to play the clip for it.
I wouldn't have picked Vice President Trump to be vice president, but I think she was not qualified to be president.
President Biden can clearly defeat Donald Trump.
I want to hand it over to the president of Ukraine, who has as much courage as he has determination. Ladies and gentlemen, President Putin.
Joe Biden is our nominee. He is not leaving this race. He is in this race, and I support him.
Our military is working. I'm following the advice of my commander-in-chief,
Now we have a great president, a great president.
It wasn't about just, anyway, read what his objective is. And anyway.
He wants to stay in the race. His record is excellent.
If all of a sudden I show up at the convention, everybody says we want somebody else. That's the democratic process. It's not going to happen.
He had a bad night. We've talked about it. He understands people's concerns.
You have any want to follow up on any of that you just asked me?
Yes.
Ford, I mean, look, I don't know what the Democrats can say other than this is a total, for lack of better words, is a total shit show for the Democrats with Biden right now.
Look, Biden's a cognitive mess. The man's almost a vegetable. They're talking about him serving 4 more years. The man can't even make it 4 more months. And look, the Democrats, they're talking about replacing him. They're in political purgatory. They don't know what to do. Remember, Biden is basically incapable, and Kamala Harris is incompetent. If it were up to Donald Trump, he would actually move the RNC convention back to the first week of August until the Democrats figure out and struggle through their Biden problem.
Well, can the Democrats actually really get rid of Biden? I mean, I know a lot of people are contemplating, and before we talk about it, Republican Congresswoman from New York, Claudia Tenney, said this, and this is what she felt about it.
Congresswoman, I know I only have you for just another minute, so I do just want to ask a question, pivot to President Biden. Now, he had a historic debate 2 weeks ago against former President Donald Trump. Since then, he's been facing mounting calls to drop out of the race. Yesterday, he held a press conference. What do you make of the whole situation? Do you think President Biden should drop out of the race?
I think the Democrats are in chaos. I think it's a political impossibility for President Biden to drop out at this point. There are delegates that have already, and people who have already cast their vote. You know, when the Democrats talk about undermining democracy, nothing is a bigger slap on democracy than to undermine your own primary process. People voted for Joe Biden. For him to come out, and why do they want him out? They want him out because he's not leading in the polls. So it's pure politics. So whenever you hear the Democrats say our democracy, you should fill in the blank with our power. They are worried about power and that President Biden will not deliver them the White House and majorities in the Senate and in the House of Representatives. That's the only reason that they're gunning against him. That's the only reason Hakeem Jeffries had a secret meeting or a meeting with President Biden last night. They have to get through this convention because if they open up the convention, you could have anybody in there. And that's exactly how they undermined their own primary process, their own democratic process in 2020 when they forced Amy Klobuchar and Pete Buttigieg out because they knew that Bernie Sanders could potentially be their nominee, not a Democrat, not someone who could beat Donald Trump. They forced them out and forced in Joe Biden. They have to reap what they sow. This is who they've got, and they've got a problem, and they've got chaos. But I think they're going to be stuck with Joe Biden at least through the convention.
What say you, Ford?
Let me say the first why Claudia Tenney, Representative Tenney, hit the nail on the head. Democrats say democracy's on the ballot. They want to upend democracy because she's absolutely right. Joe Biden's losing in the polls. And let me tell you something else. Prior to that political earthquake disaster of a debate where everyone woke up to, Biden's cognitive decline, before the debate, he only had a 33% chance of winning. After the debate, he had a 25% chance of winning. So what people don't seem to understand is Biden's problem isn't just, how shall I say, medical. His problem is political and electoral. This is going to be the price of groceries election, and the Democrats don't know what to do because their socialist policies are the whole reason why Main Street's suffering.
Well, and I agree. And many have speculated about Joe's mental health, and we've discussed this several times. Does he have the ability to serve another term? I've said, like you, I don't know how he's going to finish the term he's got left. We have heard that Parkinson's expert has visited the White House 8 times. Now, a Democrat, quadruple board certified neurologist, Dr. Tom Pitts, had this to say in an interview with NBC, and pretty interesting. This is from a Democrat.
Somebody who's a neurologist. What you've seen from the president over the last 2 years, what you saw at the debate, the last few interviews, the way he speaks, the way maybe he walks, have you noticed anything that gives you a red flag as a doctor?
Oh, yeah, I see him 20 times a day in clinic. I mean, it's ironic because he has just such classic features of neurodegeneration. I mean, word finding difficulties, and that's not, I couldn't find the word. That's from degeneration of the word retrieval area.
He's also overcome stuttering, though. Could that be part of that, too?
No, this is not a palatal issue or a speech discrepancy, which is very different from a lemino dysfunction, actual word retrieval, where you pick a similar question or talk around the issue, plus the rigidity, monotone voice.
Wait, go back to that, the rigidity. What do you mean?
Rigidity, loss of arm swing, standing up lordotically. You notice when he turns, it's kind of end block turning. It's not a quick turn. So that's one of the hallmarks of Parkinsonism is rigidity and bradykinesia, slow movement. And he has that hallmark, especially with the low voice that said was a cold hypophonia. A small monotone voice like this over time is a hallmark of Parkinsonism. I could have diagnosed him from across the mall.
Here are some of the symptoms from Parkinson's. We just had him up there on the screen. If we can put him back. What about the movement? Some people have pointed out the way he walks. Sometimes it's not very fast, small steps. Is that something that is common in people who are battling a disease like Parkinson's?
Yeah, it's a hallmark. Shuffling gait, we call that, so little steps. Loss of arm swing from the rigidity. When we walk, we have a nice cadence. You notice he doesn't really swing his arms. And end block turning, meaning he kind of pivots around his foot. If you said, hey, President Biden, he wouldn't go like this. So, yeah.
But I also know, and tell me if I'm wrong here, it's very hard to diagnose Parkinson's, isn't it? It's not simple. I mean, I've heard that it can be.
It's one of the easier movement disorders to diagnose, actually.
Right,
but it's so clinic. There's very little other. And I'm a Democrat. I always say about this.
Right.
It's just like this guy is not a hard case.
This guy's not a hard case. I mean, how do you come back to life from that? That's a Democrat, quadruple certified neurosurgeon here saying it.
The best part of that whole exchange was the NBC host who's trying to spin it for Joe Biden at every single turn. And the guy's like, he's damaged goods. And you can't rehabilitate this. And it's only going to get worse. It's not like John Fetterman and the stroke. You cannot rehabilitate this. Once you go south, you're just going to keep going south until, boop, you're dead.
But he overcomes stuttering, Ford. Is that a sign that he's not got Parkinson's?
I mean, this guy tried to turn every spin. He was spinning like a top the entire time, and the dude wasn't on the Democratic take, so he's just like, no. It was fantastic. Look, the Democrats are in this position for one reason. Besides the fact that they want to win at all costs, they have made identity politics the core tenet of their entire party. And as a result, They knew that Joe Biden had this problem for years, okay? And after the 2022 midterms, if they thought Kamala had what it took, they would have jettisoned him off the ticket back then. The problem is not only is he a cognitive mess, but I go back to the fact that they recognize the backup quarterback's completely incompetent. And now, remember, the only way you could get rid of Biden is either if he dies or he steps down. Now, I'm sure Hillary Clinton's probably mixing up the potion in the back room to try to kill him off, but then you're stuck with Kamala. You can't boot the black woman off the top of the ticket. You know what? America does not deserve 4 more years of Joe Biden. But I'm going to tell you something. The Democrats deserve this shit show.
I agree. Well, the next big thing for Republicans is Milwaukee. And then I know a lot of people's getting ready to head up that way. I know you're probably going up there. My friend Alfie's going up there. Byron Donalds and his camp, they're headed up that way. What can we expect coming to be what's going to be the primary talking points in Milwaukee that we should be looking for?
Well, each night, okay, so it's going to go through Monday through Thursday, and each night has a different theme. The first night's theme is going to focus on, why Bidenomics is hurting Main Street America and how Trump's, policies will actually make America wealthy again. On Tuesday, what they're going to spotlight is crime, supporting law enforcement, securing the border. On Wednesday, they're going to talk again about securing the border in terms of national security. And then they're going to discuss the fact that under Donald Trump, we didn't have a war. He's going to talk about the fact that he can fix the situation with China and Russia. And frankly, he's going to say, look, I'm going to solve this whole problem with Israel because I'm going to back Israel to the hilt and not play this anti-Semitic crap that's going on in the Democratic Party. And then the big night will be Thursday. That is when Donald Trump is going to accept the nomination. One thing I will say, one caveat to this, Wednesday night, we will meet who will be Donald Trump's vice president.
All right. I'm narrowed it down to 2. My choice, which I hope, I ain't a gambling man for it, but I hope for Bergman. I'd love to see Bergman, but I believe it's going to end up being J.D. Vance. What do you think?
You know what? I think that's not a bad call in terms of what it's likely to be. The reason why I say that is on Wednesday night, before the vice presidential pick speaks, who will speak last, Donald Trump Jr. is speaking right before him. And Donald Trump Jr. is someone who's been lobbying very hard for J.D. Vance. Look, I don't think that Donald Trump can go wrong whether he picks Vance, Burgum, Rubio, or someone else. The bottom line is he's got riches of talent. That tells you how deep the Republican bench is. So frankly, I don't think he can go wrong. But I'll tell you what the Trump campaign is thinking. They're looking to find a ticket that's going to break through the blue wall. What is the blue wall? The blue wall is Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin. If Donald Trump can just win one of those 3 states, he will be the 47th president of the United States.
Well, and I was thinking about, watching some of the different debates and discussions and stuff. When we normally vote for presidents, we always look at the powerful people and we look like we're beneath them. The average person don't feel that way with Joe Biden. And I think that even the Democrats, the people this maybe had to change careers 7 or 8 times to find the right way to move on. The people that's had to bust their ass to make America what it really is are seeing what Biden and the Democrats have done. Finally, it took Joe Biden to wake them up, but they're starting to wake up. And if you're an average working class person, you're not, the Democrat Party is not for you by no means the word. And they want to cry, it's for the wealthy people, the Republicans, they give the tax breaks to the wealthiest. That's all horse shit, man.
You're absolutely right. And, the Democrats have been spinning that. Because, look, remember, here's what the Democrats do. They tell a lie. The media reports it as fact. Their little influencers then spread that alleged fact all over social media. So that's why the Republicans were always on their heels. Look, I would go even further than you. The Democrats are not just for the wealthy coastal elites. I'm not even sure they're for America. They're for the globalists. And the best way I can point that out is the electric vehicle mandate. Fine, nobody wants to destroy the environment, but the electrical vehicle mandate is the quickest way to put American manufacturing in the Midwest out of business, give all of our money to China, and have cars that don't work. It's the dumbest thing I've ever seen in my life. And again, you and I understand. We come from Southwest Florida. It is all about the environment because Southwest Florida goes only as far as our environment takes us.
Well, and that's a fact. And we're going to be talking about Southwest Florida's environment here in a few minutes. Do you actually think that the Democrats will try to pull something to stop this election for?
Oh, of course. We already saw a sign of this. We were very happy because I always tell you that what's going to wind up winning this election is not messaging, but what I call ballot turnout. Okay. And unfortunately, I think it was last week, the Wisconsin Supreme Court ruled that they could put the ballot boxes, the drop boxes, back into Wisconsin. That is going to be a problem. Remember, they're basically going to try to steal this election legally through the various ballot harvesting rules of the 6 battleground states that will decide this election.
Well, now, the House just passed the SAVE Act, which requires proof of citizenship to vote. However, 198 House Democrats voted against it. That, again, this is unbelievable. Why would you want somebody that's not from this country deciding on who's going to run your country?
Because they realize their policies are so friggin' crazy that they have to import a new set of voters. You know, when Tucker Carlson talks about the great replacement theory, it's not a conspiracy. It's taking place right before our eyes. And somehow people tell us that we're crazy every time we bring it up. And then remember, the other way that they get them in the door is not just illegals from like all over the world in every country. Then they make sure that they get the welfare benefits over American citizens. They are literally canceling American citizens out for the rest of the world. No other country on earth would allow something so friggin' stupid. In fact, I believe Poland just did something where if illegal immigrants come in, their military can shoot them.
I just don't understand why people want to just throw the country away. And it seems like that if you're on the left, that's exactly you. You really don't care about the country anymore at all.
But not only that, they say, we don't need a wall. Do you know how many other countries have walls? About 100. It's insane. Every time you say it, they're like, well, we can do it through electronic security or humanely. It's inhumane to Americans. It's inhumane to the migrants themselves. All you're doing is enriching the Chinese and the drug cartels. It is the most amazing thing I've ever seen. And remember, the drug cartels realize that there's more money in human trafficking than there is in cocaine.
Oh, yeah. No, I agree. Well, Ford has got time.
Man's trash.
We're going to slip on the local here in Lee County area and some Florida stuff. Our first story is going to be me admitting that our team made a mistake. We have a great team that works hard to promote grassroots candidates. Our goal is to keep our country ours and keep our county ours, not just to hand it over to the establishment. In this battle, we look for the best in the people, and sometimes we miss the bad in people. So I want to apologize for my endorsement of Joshua Melendez. At 5:30 a.m., I personally, along with my team that I work with, and also with Alfie Oaks, have made the decision that we will not support Lee County School District Board candidate Joshua Melendez. Like I said in our conversation with my team, if you have two faces, then you can expect one to get slapped. Do not piss on my back and tell me it's raining. If you're crying broke, you campaign, you need campaign donations, you want to get on posters, you want to go out and campaign, and you're donating to the establishment cabal like Jonathan Martin and other Brian Wright and those people, we will not back you. And you can consider us totally embarrassed for ever laying an endorsement on Joshua Melendez. And that being said, I want to move on to what's going on in the school district. The school district of Lee County has established a new system, which is called a regional school board. What they are going to do is they're going to divide the district into 4 parts with independent superintendents that will respond to the elected superintendent. They will have their own teams of the same groups. This was put together and presented at the last workshop and last action meeting that followed. Principals, along with thousands of employees, were unaware of this change. For the first time forward, board members battled about the hiring process for many administrative seats as the district bypassed their own principles and policies and practices by not having an open job opportunity for employees. Superintendent Ken Savage handpicked these candidates and denied many the opportunity to apply, a practice that is not recommended nor supported by any public institution, but by private corporations. The school district still runs rogue, doing as it pleases, disregarding policies and statutes. Ford, I just think it's totally wrong. Ken Savage is only the interim superintendent, and he's made decisions that's going to affect our school district for years to come before we even have an election.
Now, why would you speculate that they made this choice to switch to these, what we'll call regional school boards?
Well, I think that if they do it regional school boards, that way it puts, like, I attack Armour about his district having so much violence in there. So then Ken Savage will have another superintendent that you'll talk for Armour's district, but it'll kind of alleviate the problem. It just adds more government, and that's not conservative.
No, you're always right. When you have more government, more bureaucracy, because that's really what you're adding, is more administrative state people, you're going to have more problems in the long run. It may be something that sounds good on paper, but you're absolutely right. Not only is it not conservative, it seems like you're going to have a lot more problems than you already do have. And we've discussed this. District 5 needs a lot of attention because of what's going on there in terms of violence, the lesser resources, etc.
Yeah, I agree. Well, and for the last 13 years, the Lee County School District has shown decline in academic achievement. And this year's scores are not any better. What the fast testing in language arts scores for Lee County versus the state. Third grade, the state of Florida is 55%, and Lee County is at 48%. Seventh grade, the state's at 50%, Lee County's at 47%. 10th grade, state's at 53%, Lee County comes in at 47%. The average statewide Lee County final score for English and language arts, the scores include third grade through 10th who tested at the end of 2023 and 24 school year, and the percentages represent the rate of students who tested at or above grade level. Lee County had lower test scores than in the state in every grade level.
This is fully unacceptable. Let's break this down for a second. Joe, how much money does the Lee County schools use each year?
It's about $2 billion, I think we're at now.
Okay, and we have 67 counties in the state. Now, we've got some pretty poor counties in Florida. And you're going to tell me that Lee County is basically the worst with all that money comparatively to what they have? Now, granted, we have a lot more students, and therefore per capita it could be different. But you're not having this problem in Charlotte. You're not having this problem in Collier. Why are we having it in Lee?
Well, the Lee County School District continues to fight multiple lawsuits, including the Oaks Farms on their appeal of the local federal judge to dismiss their lawsuit, and it's still pending from appeal in Florida courts. I have to say that we have more problems with this school district, and I don't see anybody that's real quick in a hurry to fix it. I see them adding more problems to a big problem, making the problem even greater. I don't know when we get a remedy.
Well, think about the outgoing superintendent. Isn't he still being paid?
Not now.
Not now. Okay. Just want to make sure. Thank you for keeping me accurate on that front. But look, we know that there's a lot of problems. And remember, there's a lot of people also grifting off of the school district too, making their living off of the misery and the terrible results that they're turning out.
Yeah, no, actually, Superintendent Bernier's contract, we ended up not having to pay him once he took the job in Duval County, and he's now their problem.
Okay, yeah, but he got another job. If he hadn't gotten another job, we'd still be paying him. I mean, my God, this is worse than an NBA contract. Like, what the hell's going on here? You got to wonder, like, honestly, the powers that be, like, they need to be thrown out again. I mean, why can't we get someone somewhere? This is the heyday of Southwest Florida to figure out how to run these schools.
Well, there is a good story, and I will tell you that we had talked about the director of operations who had under Bernier had put in his resignation and rescinded it. He has put forth some good efforts in the transportation department that is showing what effective leadership should look like. That's Mr. Larry Stevens. And I want to talk more on the school board. I'll probably do another show. I've got so much information coming out in the school district right now. I just felt like we needed to touch base on what's really going to affect us going forward with the new school year. Only a few short weeks away from gearing up to get ready to start. Parents need to know what they're going into, and it's not going to be what they expect.
No, I hear you. And, you know, look, the end goal is always to have a safe, on-time, quality education. And that's what we have to do. Because, look, as you and I know, Southwest Florida and Lee County only go as far as the next generation. And if the next generation aren't learning a darn thing, let's just say, and they're turning out subpar students with subpar, test scores, that's not going to help Lee County in the long run. It's always about benefiting Lee County, at least the region as a whole. And somehow that's not seems to be what's happening, which is not shocking. And you can see this because, the South, the quality of living is going up more in Collier County and in Charlotte County relative to Lee County. And that's a direct result of what? Subpar schooling.
Absolutely. Well, Ford, I want to talk about some of the local candidates right now. I got to say, Amanda Cochran, who is, she has impressed me with the turnout she's getting for these little pop-up events she's doing. She has set up a couple of pop-up events that she's put together in a couple of days. And I actually just happened to be in the area of two of them. And I stopped by one. It was in the Enzos in Bonita. And I stopped by and I talked with several people who I really enjoyed talking to. One of them is a lady that's running for the mayor of Bonita Springs, which is Ruth Comnott. Look, the lady was very nice, and I really liked what she had to say. Of course, she's running against Adam Botana's brother. So, yeah. And I don't know that I don't know that Adam Botana's brother's policy or politics is quite the same as Adam's, but I just think
he's a solid guy. I mean, I can't speak for his policies, but I've met him a few times, and he's a pretty solid guy.
Well, I know.
I don't say anything bad about anybody else. I'm just saying
right.
he's a little bit different than Botana. Let's just put it that way. Remember that movie Twins, like Schwarzenegger and Danny DeVito? Adam's Danny DeVito.
Well, but I was the other day. I'd been to the event and I got tied up. And Amanda Cochran had over here at Richie's Alba Market had a pop-up event. Now I come by an hour and a half after this event had ended. The parking lot was still full. I mean, the lights were out and the parking lot was still full. And here's Amanda Cochran, her husband Darius, their son, they're all out there, and they got a whole crowd of people still out there an hour and a half after this event ended. I mean, she is really, look, she's facing the incumbent Mike Greenwell. And unlike several other candidates for county commissioner, the establishment hasn't started with the aggressive hit piece campaign that we can expect on Amanda yet. But it's really impressive for her. I mean, she's drawing the people.
Well, let me say this. On one hand, that is fantastic news because obviously, while I like Mike Greenwell, the baseball player, I got a real big problem with Mike Greenwell, the county commissioner. That said, the fact that they haven't hit her yet, makes me wonder maybe they're seeing something in the polling because, right about now, the middle of July, that's when Terry starts doing his little polling deal. And then, that's what comes back. Now, I know we're going to talk about another little county commissioner race that's going off the friggin' rails, but, I have a feeling that eventually, if she's doing as well as you say she's doing, man, they're going to come after her.
Well, I mean, I can't, I think that they're not as afraid of her, and this is my opinion, as they are of having her plus another outsider on that board. Now, if they go ahead and say, okay, whatever, Greenwell or Cochran, we're okay either way. But you bring in Matt Thornton and Amanda Cochran, that's a 3-2 and everybody's thinking that Cecil's the swing. But look, I like Cecil all right, but look, I know I'm not going to place my bets on Cecil. I'm sorry, I'm not. Cecil's a decent guy, but I'm not going to place my bets on him being the switch hitter for the two new candidates coming in.
Yeah, I can't speak to that. What I can say is this. Yeah, Cecil is respected and been on that board for a long time for a good reason, and that is Cecil knows how to play the game.
No, I agree. And the reason that, like NBC2, Terry Miller Hatchet journalist Dave Elias, he done a hit piece on Matt Thornton. And, when Thornton was going to the interview, I talked to Matt. I said, I wouldn't do it. I said, I'm telling you, he worked for Terry. I said, he's looking for something to throw you under the bus. Well, he done a voter fraud hit piece on Matt Thornton that was debunked almost as fast as it was reported, but not before it was passed on to Tommy Doyle's office, who referred to the state's attorney on up the chain. The establishment then went as far as to have State Representative Lyle Spencer Roach, who we all love, like a hemorrhoid, go on the Drew Steele Morning Show and question Matt Thornton's military service. This is beyond appalling. I don't care who you are. You don't have that right, Ford.
Well, look, they're scared. The Millerites are clearly scared of Matt Thornton. Let me say something about this. Like with respect to the going all the way to Tommy Doyle's office, that is just causing headaches. They like to just cause headaches after causing headaches. They don't care if the facts are true. The facts can come out after the primary is over. But I have to say, for Spencer Roach to go on Drew Steele, Drew Steele has a very good relationship with Terry Miller. How shall I say, too? It always seems to be somebody whose interests are aligned for Terry Miller always seems to wind up on Drew Steele's morning show. I know when Drew Steele allowed someone to go on there and say some pretty nasty stuff about me. I think his name was Brendan Leslie, to be totally honest. And we know darn well Terry Miller and all of them are in one cabal too. So remember, there's a lot of people in that cabal we just don't name, but they're all affiliated. It's like a darn crime family in Southwest Florida.
Well, yesterday morning, my friend Al Oaks allows Drew Steele to do a morning show called his First Friday at Seed to Table.
Oh, well.
All right. Well, they had made up for it and done it yesterday because of the 4th. And I attended. When I went there, Matt Thornton was already there. And he went up before the show started. And what looks to be no more than establishment bullshit, Matt Thornton physically went and asked Drew Steele for equal time and was denied. And what Drew told Matt was that he had lived here for 40 years and he didn't appreciate newcomers coming to Florida and running for county commissioner. Now, first off, Matt Thornton is a Floridian. He was born in Florida. Drew Steele,
was not born in Florida.
And look, one thing I'll say is Drew Steele, and I know a lot of lot of conservatives listen to Drew Steele's show. I don't listen to it. I just don't, because I feel like he sold his soul a long time ago.
I might have been on it for 3 years.
Well, I'm since after you've gone, I'm just telling you, I haven't listened to. I mean, I'll listen to you and Trey, but I have lost all respect for this man. And you know, it seems to me, and I mean, it's probably about the time that you was with him, right after he went out west a few years back, if I'm not correct.
I think out to Salt Lake, yes.
All right, so he goes out to Salt Lake. So, and how many years ago was that? Did he come back?
It was pretty close. I believe he came back right around 2016, so like less than a year, maybe year and a half.
So he actually is not a Floridian. He moved away. I remember it was very controversial, and I won't bring that up. I will to his face, but I won't bring it up on my show why he left the area when he did. But he didn't seem to pan out when he got out west and he come crawling back. I don't think it's fair for him to do the hit pieces he allows Terry Miller to do on all the grassroots candidates and not let the grassroots candidates have equal time to defend themselves. And for that reason alone, I have no use for Drew Steele's show.
Well, my response to the grassroots candidates that are getting, how shall I say, hosed because of that situation, I would call up the station and make a point outside of Drew Steele about, you know, what's going on. Remember, this station is owned by a family, great people. Bottom line is, I think that should be brought to their attention.
Well, and I'm not going to lie. I had a conversation with Al Oaks before the show, and Al Oaks went on the show, and I apologize for this audio. I don't have the greatest audio. There's a lot of background noise. But in the end, the justice was sweetly rewarding after Alfie Oaks addressed the issue with Drew Steele, and it was almost like Alfie just slapped him in the head. He had no choice but to let Alfie say what Alfie said, and Alfie pretty much said what needed to be said. Let's listen to that.
Harder than they did here in Dyer County back in 2022. Kind of took them by surprise when we got all these America First candidates here. So if we can change that, if we can get someone that can actually expose all the corruption here and then take it across the country, it's a game changer for this country. That's why. But you know, and I know it's not about me endorsing candidates, but we're watching the kind of the RINOs and across Dyer County and Lee County put a lot of effort in to send mailers out that after I get to know people that I believe are deceitful. I don't know about, you know, I've heard about the accusations on Matt Thornton that he wasn't a veteran. I've been shown papers to say that he is. I'm not involved.
Look, Drew Steele's head was ready to explode. He had played every establishment candidate's promo during that show right in Matt Thornton's face and refused to let Matt Thornton say a word, and Alfie just flat out said, look, I got this right. I don't respect none of you that's throwing up these hit pieces. I get to know these people and find out that you're basically all full of shit.
You know, I've been speaking about this for a couple of years now. I've experienced how this works too, and I'm just telling everyone, you got to wake up, because you got to question when everyone circles the wagons about 12 seconds in and no one knows who the other person is, and then they just lie every which way. And again, this is exactly what the Democrats do. This is exactly what Joe Biden does. Lies about everything. The media picks it up, reports it as a fact, and by the time it's over, you go, my God, candidate Y, candidate X, the ones going against the establishment, they were not who they said they were, and they're actually really good people. We've lost out on a lot of good people in Lee County in particular because of this nonsense.
I agree. I think when we lost John Albion, that was a major loss. And picking Tiffany Esposito over you, I mean, that's to the point that where people are trying to get people kicked out of the REC because they're not honoring this loyalty clause because they're backing a libertarian against Tiffany Esposito this time. Look, nobody knows how important these Lee County races are right now. And that's why I'll never sign the loyalty oath and join the REC, because I'm going to back the best candidate, not the candidate you tell me to back.
Oh, look, I understand. I have signed that loyalty oath. I've had to read up, get out. I mean, I agree with you. Look, we're always about the Florida, the Republican Party of Florida in the general election. These primaries, they're rigged. It's an embarrassment. And I mean, when they're not rigged by that, then you've got someone else who I'm not going to name, who I once had an interview with, who basically said, "Oh, we don't want people challenging incumbents aren't doing their job. We'll just find another job for them." I mean, this is unfortunate. And look, you got to wake up to it.
Well, again, like I said, Matthew Thornton, who is running for Lee County Commissioner in District 3 against Dave Mulcaperson, he is receiving cabal heat early on. I tell you folks, with everything in me, I have spent a lot of time with Matthew Thornton on the phone, a lot of time in person. Matthew Thornton has had dinner with my family, and I've got to know Matthew Thornton. And I promise you, he has my full support going forward. And the one thing Matthew Thornton can say, basically, folks, look at this. This is basically a job interview. If you're going to hire somebody, you've got employee Mullica applying for the job, and you got employee Thornton who's applying for the job. Both men have had their own businesses for years. One man has dumped toxic waste in our environment. One man who has done demolition and construction has a zero any ratings for dumping anything toxic, but yet the local cabal is promoting the one that is destroying our Florida. Make it make sense to me. I want everybody who has endorsed Dave Mullica, that is a seated candidate in Lee County or in the state of Florida, to answer to our constituents why. I want Byron Donalds to tell me, what does he see in Dave Mullica that makes him a better choice than Matthew Thornton? I want to hear it from all of them. Ruane, I want to hear it from Hammond. Somebody tell me.
Look, I can't speak for Byron, and I'm just going to not speak for anybody, but I'm just going to lay it out for you. It's very simple. Terry Miller represents his campaign. He is married to Jenna Person. And who is his father-in-law? Armour. This is nepotism. This is what we criticize the Democrats for, and we're doing it right now in Lee County. I've always told you, Lee County is starting to look like Chicago city politics with an R. I mean, it's really, really bad. And most people in Lee County drive up and down Tamiami, get on the highway. They don't know.
Well, and like I said, before the show, I had some technical difficulties, but I am going to come out with some videos for it, and I want everybody to know I got a thumb drive right here. This is incriminating conversations, video and audio, and this is Dave Mullica talking about who somebody sent me. Once I go through it and vet it, it's definitely him. I've watched the video, but I want to make sure that it comes out as clear as he stated it, because I don't want nothing to ever said that we don't put out nothing but 100% truthful product from this show forward.
Hey, look, I trust you on the vetting thing. That's on your side, but if it's authentic, as we've discussed off air,
it's straight out of his mouth. I don't know how much more authentic you get from them than that. So we'll see. Well, Ford, I want to tell you, I know you got a lot going on with everything happening. Get ready to go to Milwaukee. Again, if you would call our friend Larry when you get to Milwaukee for me. He's looking to talk to you when you get up that way.
Well, I will do, my friend. I'll just tell you this. I am excited to go to Milwaukee, but for a throwback for the older people, you know what I keep thinking about when I'm flying to Milwaukee? Laverne and Shirley. I want to go to they have that museum. They got the Harley Davidson one, and then they got the beer one. And I'm like, you know what? And I won't have any time, but I wish I could do that.
I knew you. That's the only thing I can think of, Harley Davidson and Laverne and Shirley when it comes to Milwaukee.
That's right.
Well, Ford, I appreciate you. I appreciate you taking the time to spend with us, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your weekend. Folks, we love you, Florida. Love, peace, and gator grease. We'll see you next time. We'll be back. Me and Ford, hopefully within the week and give you some more updates of this local drama. Thanks, Ford.
You got it, my friend.